Hey everybody, Casey Miller here with Positive Coaching Alliance. We are here with one of our favorite people ever, Julie Foudy, who is tuning in from Southern California. We're so excited to have Julie here with us, one of our National Advisory Board members, and we are super excited for you all to get a chance to connect with PCA, with Julie.
Casey Miller, Casey Miller.
I love it. She's bringing the energy. She's bringing the fire already. And so I'll be watching the comments come in. So as people are here with us and listening to the next 20 or so minutes with Julie, if you all have questions and want to chat in with thoughts, please do. We'll be following along. And we'd love to hear where you're watching from. So I see the numbers are going up already. People are tuning in. So let us know where you're watching. And we look forward to the next few minutes with Julie. So Julie, thank you so much for joining us. And tell us what you've been up to over the last couple weeks, given more time with home, with the kiddos, with the family, and just what's been happening in your world.
Yeah, a lot of time in my office right here, actually, doing a lot of Zooming. I've been on more Zoom calls in the last 2 weeks than I have in my entire life. But we're doing all right. I mean, the first week it was of lockdown. I'm in Southern Cal, so we've been in lockdown now for a few weeks. First week it was like, oh my God, this is actually kind of fun. We got all this time together and we can watch movies. Second week they started homeschooling, so we had that added chaos. But it provided some structure, which my kids are 11 and 13. And so I actually feel really blessed because they are pretty self-sufficient. I can't even imagine having two little ones at home right now. And so we've put in a little bit of more structure. And now this third week has proved to be a little more challenging. We're getting a lot of time together. We have our little crabby moments, but I think that's okay as well. But overall, I mean, we're so blessed. We live in a place where we can get outside with enough space and social distancing for it to be safe. That brings me a lot of sanity. And I just, I continue to try and flip this to the positive of, what we can get out of this time and try and really get in that mindset of, especially given, all these people that are on the front lines doing all this amazing work, risking their lives. The least we can do is stay hunkered in to help them. So we're trying to do our best to do that.
Right. Yeah. And we are in, kind of week 3 of the shutdown. And I think, that first week, a lot of people were, grieving and kind of going through this process, specifically around sports too, just losing the ability to watch sports, the ability to play sports. And now that we're kind of moving into this third week, thinking of, ways that we can make the most of this, that we can be, the best possible teammates to each other in life, which means social distancing at this point. But I'm curious, for maybe specific to high school seniors that may have lost their spring season and, aren't able to finish out the season that they thought they might have. Do you have any advice to those seniors who are, might be home watching, or their parents who might be home watching, just in dealing with that situation?
Yeah. I mean, we have a couple on our block right here, who were seniors who lost their season. My niece was a senior in college. She lost her season. So it's hard. And I think the one thing that always has given me great comfort in trying times when, and look, I get that it's global. It's not just in the United States. I mean, this is something that's happening globally. And so it's not just your team that's affected, and thinking beyond that is an important step, but sometimes that's hard to do given that you're going through it personally and you're grieving it. And when I am struggling, the thing I always do is I turn to my teammates. And so I would suggest, and it's interesting because one of the things, the silver linings in all of this is, I've always been very close to my Stanford teammates from college, and we have talked more in these 3 weeks,
I saw the Zoom birthday.
And so we've used this as an opportunity. We had a Zoom birthday. We had just, a cocktail hour when this first broke out. So we've actually been in contact, and that is something that gives me such happiness. And so I would say to those seniors, that even though you don't have your season, the thing that's so important is you still have your team and you still have your teammates, and those are going to be with you for life. So use this time to connect with them, and maybe you come together and you share stories about, the season, and you could do a virtual season, talking about it and grieve that way. But don't lose those connections, and make sure you honor those and allow your kids to honor those connections and get online. I know we're trying to keep our kids off screens all day, but I think that, connection with teammates and friends is so important. It's the one thing I say to my kids every day: go Zoom with your friends. Go, get online with them. Go, because
Awesome.
I can hear them laughing in their rooms and they're talking and they're sharing, and it's hard when you're not in school together.
Yeah, totally. Well, I want to call out a few people who have tuned in and they're commenting. Michael Wardlow from Tampa, Florida. Elizabeth from Nebraska. Thanks for tuning in. We got Amy Manson is tuning in. Sue Hunt says, thanks so much for being a part of this. The people are tuning in. And if you have questions for Julie, I'm looking here at the comments. So chat them in. We're talking about what she's been up to here during this crazy time in our country, unprecedented time in the world. And so we so appreciate Julie Foudy for being here with PCA, talking about some tips and tools for coaches, parents, and athletes at home. And so you mentioned your two kids are, 13 and 11. They've been Zooming with friends. And of course, there's the balance of screen time and being active. And so are there any activities that you've seen them absolutely fall in love with, or any new things over the last couple of weeks where they're being active outside, or any other things that maybe people could take away and suggest that their kids try doing as well?
Well, beyond, their sports programs have been, and clubs have been sending them, skills stuff to do. So they've been, tinkering with that online, which is nice. But we've just been in the backyard, hitting the ball. Izzy's playing volleyball as well as soccer, and Deck's been wanting to shoot a lot. And so we have a, we don't have a large space. We have like a 10, yard by 20 yard piece of grass that we've been using just to do little skill stuff and just get outside. And that has been fun. And it hasn't been as structured in terms of, okay, today we're going to work on these 17 things. It's just us out there juggling, laughing, playing. And I think that's important, to have some unstructured fun that way as well. But then just getting fresh air. I mean, we've been out actually, to try and get away. We've been out in the trails mountain biking, which we hadn't done a ton of before. And so that has been super fun because we can get out there in the fresh air where there's not a lot of people, and do it all with the four of us together. So that's been wonderful. What else are we doing? A lot of push-up, sit-up competitions. I like to
Ooh.
make it, I like to, keep it competitive. We did this drill yesterday that my 11-year-old Deck gets silly and he doesn't want to play. So I'm like, okay, if we don't get the ball up 20 times to do some math, whatever you miss. So if we get to 17, how many push-ups do we have to do? He's like, 3. If we get to 11, how many push-ups do we have to do? 9. I was like, there you go. Okay. And then actually he starts playing. So I think
Smart.
just constantly being creative about ways we can keep them active. Because as we all know, like, just a healthy exercise routine does so much for you mentally, beyond just what it does for you physically. But and getting them out hiking, whatever you can do, and staying socially distant, of course, is important.
Yeah, I feel like people are going to come out with a rekindled or new appreciation for nature after all of this, because it's one of the few things that you can do safely and do with your family, and that effect of awe in being in places that there's big trees or big landscapes, I think is pretty amazing. So good tip to get outside, go for hikes, spend time with the family, and of course, all while social distancing. I see Emily Ogden tuned in. Garcia Tiffany from Olympia, Washington. Thanks for tuning in. Um, Somebody asked, are you making your own donuts at home?
What's funny is
Delivery
right
donuts?
before I do have a donut problem. First step is admitting it. And I have not wanted to go to the donut store. I haven't even checked to see if it's open because I don't want to know. Because if it's open, I'm in there every day. So I'm not sure if it's an essential need right now in terms of stores being open. I doubt it. So I'm sure it's
Yeah.
closed as well. But right before all of this, the pandemic, I had a friend who got me 4 dozen vegan donuts from Whole Foods.
Oh,
And he had said, hey, he knew of my love of donuts and said, have you ever tried vegan ones? And I said, no. Well, the next week I'm on a call with him and he's like, hey, I need to surprise you with something. And he pipes in 4 people who work at the local Whole Foods near me. And they're like, we have 4 dozen donuts here waiting for you. And I was like, what? 4 dozen? I don't need 4 dozen. I am telling you, these vegan donuts from Whole Foods, I'm not a vegan person at all, right? You give me meat. I'm a carnivore. I eat meat. I eat eggs. I eat all of it. And we froze those because I couldn't eat 4. We gave 2 dozen away, and then we froze because we couldn't eat 2 dozen in one day. We froze a bunch of them. So that's what I've been living on is my frozen vegan donuts.
lasting. I love it.
I'm down to like
freezer donuts.
yeah, I'm down to like my last 3. Ian, my husband tried to throw them out. I was like, don't touch the donuts.
I love it.
No. So yes, that's how I'm getting fixin'.
I love it. All right, so a couple more questions in here. So Elizabeth, Lila or Leela, she says totally off topic, but she is curious, what was your best experience playing soccer? Your best experience playing soccer? Elizabeth, thank you for that question. And there's Evan, I see yours, so I'll get to yours as well, and Amanda. But let's go with Elizabeth first. About your
play. Everyone always wants me to say a World Cup or an Olympics or which one. And honestly, like the thing I miss the most is just, as I was saying, time with teammates. Like there was always, with that national team group, laughter and joy and fun and pranks and silliness. And it's what I love honestly, about the Positive Coaching Alliance. Like that is celebrated, right? And the two are not mutually exclusive in terms of winning and laughing. Like they go hand in hand. And the more we understand that as parents and coaches and teach our kids the joy of that, then the kids enjoy it. They want to play. They want to stay in. Even if they're not doing well, they love their teammates. They love the environment. They love the culture. It's culture building. So I think I miss the culture of it the most because we just had so much fun and it was such a neat group of people that was the best part of my playing experience.
Love that. I love that. Good question, Elizabeth. Evan's wondering, curious what kind of digital content you would like to see or use for your kids to do at home moving forward in substitution, potentially for practice and camps. It sounds like your kids' coaches have been sending kind of skills and drills from their club, but are there any other kind of digital content things that you think would be awesome for them to receive, for them to do?
That's a great question. And I was just saying to my husband last night, like, I need to spend a little time looking at some of the stuff that's come in. I mean, it's like we're drinking from a fire hose right now with work and homeschooling and everything else. So it hasn't actually been something that I've looked extensively at. In fact, last night we were just talking because our Declan, my son's basketball program, just sent a skills workout in. And my husband was watching it last night and he was like, this is really good. It's outstanding. And then for our soccer club, we play with the San Clemente Surf Soccer Club. They've been sending out something called Top Trekkers that I haven't looked at extensively. So I cannot answer that question at the moment, but I know there is a ton of really good content out there already. I think, one of the things that is helpful, of course, in all of that is there's some type of incentive for them to do it. And there is, it's kind of a structured layer to it. So, you do this level and then you try and get to this level. And so they're obviously intrinsically motivated to do it rather than the parent going, come on, let's go. Right. That's the last thing we need to add to our plate. So I don't know which one yet.
Well, that's a good point too about just like competitive competition, being intrinsically motivated and kind of maybe getting to different levels. So Evan, that's a good question. Hopefully that was helpful. Amanda Kostick wrote in and is wondering, who is the person that you played against that motivated you the most in training? So who's the person that motivated you most in training? Amanda. Amanda, thanks for watching. I also see Kelly Spalding joined. Hi, Kelly. Um,
I would say Carla Overbeck is probably one of the ones that motivated me the most. She was our longtime captain. I was her co-captain. And you talk about one of the best leaders in the world. Whenever I talk about leadership, I talk about Carla because Carla not only could talk the talk, she could walk the walk. And she had the best way of just lighting a fire underneath you, which is such a hard skill set without, especially with women, without breaking you down. She had this incredible ability to light a fire and to push you and to motivate you with her tone and with her example and with how she lived and how she behaved. That made you want to be and do as much as you could so that Carla would approve. Like you did not want to let Carla down. And there was that much respect for her. So, and I'll give you an example. She'd be in the middle of a game, and I've given this example a lot in speeches and stuff I've talked about. But there's a tone you have to strike when everything's going wrong, and how many players get that right, how many coaches get that right, how many parents get that right? That percentage can be really small when the heat rises and the pressure mounts. And Carla had this incredible ability in the middle of chaos to just calm everyone down and project confidence and tell you in that moment that you needed to be better without saying, "What the heck, Julie? You are sucky right now. Get it together." She wouldn't say that. She would say, "Foudy, we need you." And I would
love
be
that.
like, with this deep, confident, like, "You got this. You need to give more." And I'd be like, "Yes, you do. I'm ready. Let's go." And you would just, you'd kick into gear. So I always would listen to her tone. Tone, as we all, as coaches say, we want you to be more vocal. We want you to be more verbal. But there's also as Dr. Colleen Hacker always says, the "come on, you guys" versus the "come on, you guys, we got this." Same words,
Totally.
two very different tones. And Carla was the master of that tone.
I love that part on tones that we could probably do a whole piece on just the tone
Right.
of voice and how coaches and athletes and
Hacker is
teammates
the
use it.
best on that. When you get her on, I know you're getting her on. When you talk to Flash about that, she's so good. I
I,
call Dr. Colleen Flash.
Flash. Well, I have to say, so many of you probably already know this, but Julie has a podcast called Laughter Permitted that you can listen to on iTunes on your walks or when you're out in nature or at home, when you're cleaning, when you're doing dishes. And she featured
Cover your
recently,
toilets. Yeah,
or
which we all
scrubbing
do.
toes, gotta do that too. But she has an episode with Dr. Colleen Hacker that she just mentioned that's fantastic. And she talks about hunting joy during this time and a bunch of other amazing tips and tools. And Dr. Colleen Hacker is going to be on our Facebook Live next Thursday, same time at noon. So that'll be amazing. And I'm gonna make sure I ask her about the tone question, because I love that. I had a couple people that wrote in saying that they're actually watching this with their little ones. I think Olivia and Casey were two little ones that are watching with their mom. And so I'm wondering, do you have any advice for, two little girls about maybe goal setting or just anything during this moment to try to be better and to stay motivated?
Yeah. I think it's, one of the things I talk to my kids about is that we're really into right now this flip it mentality, that there are a lot of negatives out there in terms of the news that's coming in or the number of coronavirus cases is. And so there's anxiety and uncertainty and all these things that we know that's stressful. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for us, as I say to my kids, to flip it in the sense of, okay, but here we are and we're getting like, for example, I'm on the road a lot with my work and I'm bouncing from airport to city to airport to city. And this has grounded me. Like all flights have been canceled. I was supposed to be gone for 3 months during the summer. Now I have no Olympics to cover because those have been changed, right? I was covering the Men's European Championship for ESPN for a month. That's been gone. Little League World Series is in August, another thing I cover. Who knows if that's going to happen? Probably not. And And what I'm saying is here's an opportunity for us to just get time together, right? And to sit down at night and we watch a movie together. We all sit down together. We get it, we go around the circle every night. Someone gets to pick gets their movie of choice, and whoever chooses it, you got to watch it, and you all got to sit in there together. But to try and all of this find and hunt, as we said with Dr. Colleen Hacker, the joy in it, right? Because in the end, we control that mindset. We as parents control the anxiety level of the household. We as parents can model behavior for our kids. And so talking to our kids about, and which is a great lesson for life, you control how you want to wake up every day and how you want to approach this, right? We control how we're going to look back on this time in our lives and how we dealt with it. And understanding that we control that narrative, I think is a huge thing for our kids as well to learn.
I love that.
Because as they go on in life, they're going to have to control a lot of negative narratives and flip it to a positive.
Flip it. I like it. Brad Stevens, it reminds me of a video, the head coach of the Boston Celtics. He did a video for PCA. He's also on our national advisory board. And he talked about how, as the coach on the sidelines, that if he's out there freaking out, running back and forth, that players are going to be playing like that more because they're looking to the coach for how calm they are. And I love what you said, that right now, parents kind of control the anxiety level at home, that if parents are calm, kids will see that. And if they're, stressed and freaking out, that kids can pick up on that too. So I think that's awesome advice. So you mentioned the Olympics. Obviously you were going to, cover those. They were supposed to be this July in Tokyo. Those are not happening anymore. Can you give us just like a quick update from your end on things that you're hearing? Obviously it's planned to be next summer, but anything else you can share about that?
Well, the plan is for it to almost happen at the exact same time. It will happen July 23rd through, I think, August 10th. And that's like a 1-day change from what it was supposed to be this summer. So they have announced that. I mean, it took the Olympics quite a long time to actually announce that postponement and delay. And historically, I mean, the Olympics, it takes a world war really is the only thing that's ever disrupted the Olympics. So this is pretty major. They see themselves as this, beacon of light and this global source of people coming together. Well, the last thing we can do right now, of course, is bring people globally together. But it'll be interesting because you have all these teams. So, for example, half of Team USA, about half, had qualified for the Olympics. So women's soccer team, for example, had just gone through qualifiers in January and qualified. Men's soccer team hadn't qualified yet. They hadn't even done their qualifiers and they never got to them. So what are they going to do for all the athletes? Are they going to have to requalify, which will be interesting? Imagine if your kid has qualified in her sport or his sport, and now you're like, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go through a whole nother round of qualifications. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think that these are all things they have to decipher. And talk about a sports calendar that's getting pushed all the way to 2021 with everything, right? Luckily for soccer, there's no World Cup in 2021, but other sports, track and field, swimming, they all have their world championships they've got to now adjust to. So it is this big old jigsaw puzzle that the International Olympic Committee is going to have to play with and get their qualifiers in, as well as each sport in each country. I mean, it's a lot. So, but right now they're saying it's happening. So that's great news. Hopefully that is the case.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll definitely be following along and appreciate you sharing kind of background and things that are happening on that front. We have a couple more minutes. I just want to ask a couple other quick questions and then we'll wrap it up. One, you mentioned movies, watching movies with your family. Any favorite movies that you've watched over the last few weeks that you'd recommend for people? Or shows.
Or shows. Yeah, no, we've been watching mostly movies. We haven't, I sadly have not watched Tiger King, although maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, I heard it's intense.
Crazy.
Crazy. We've gone through like these phases. We started with, oddly, I don't know where this came from, a James Bond phase that then kind of morphed into Mission Impossible, and then into Jason Bourne. Izzy was very much into these kind of fun, upbeat, Mission Impossible type stories, movies. And then Declan kind of likes my style of very serious, deep movies like Austin Powers and Tommy Boy. And so, uh, that's kind of how I roll. So on our movie nights, we go towards the comedy, and Izzy and Ian go towards the Mission Impossibles. But yeah, we've gone through like all these, which depending on your kids' ages, may not always be age appropriate. We're kind of on the border, so we've been watching PG-13 stuff, and doing a lot of Austin Powers, Tommy Boy, Naked Gun. I mean, we're going old school. These are some good ones I'm pulling up for them. Princess Bride. I
Ooh,
tried
yeah.
to get to Caddyshack last night, but that's rated R. My Cousin Vinny's rated R. I found out last night, which is two big bummers.
I haven't
Um,
seen that yet. Somebody just told me to watch My Cousin Vinny.
Casey, seriously?
I know. I know. I also just watched Shawshank
Do
Redemption
not
for the first
say that out loud, Casey. Which one did you watch for the first time?
Shawshank Redemption.
Really? Oh, that's so
I've
good.
never seen it.
What's that one rated? That might be too much
I
for the kids.
think it's R. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but it's so fun. I mean, we're getting to watch all these old school movies that the people are like sending me stuff now on text. Stripes. They're going Private Benjamin. They're going all old school. So I don't know if those are R or PG-13, but it's fun. The
Yeah.
kids are really enjoying it, and it's just good to get off your screen, come together, laugh about a movie. So we try and
Totally.
do that every night.
I love that. I love that. Well, Julie, thank you so much. Thanks for your time today on our Facebook Live session. Thanks for being on our National Advisory Board. To everyone watching, we're going to be doing a weekly episode with one of our National Advisory Board members on Thursdays, and on Tuesdays, we're doing it with a PCA trainer. So we'll be talking about PCA tips and tools, so you can tune into that. But hope everyone stays safe, stays healthy. Julie, thank you again so much, and we will see all of you guys again soon.